Competing at WrestleMania is one thing, but to have your very first WWE match at the event, now that is special. It's also something that these 10 ragtag bunch have in common, as they all stepped into the ring on the main roster for the very first time at the show of shows. Did they all make an impact in these matches? Not at all. Hell, half of them didn't even win, but they will always have these memories to go in their scrapbooks, and isn't that all wrestling's really about at the end of the day? No, it's about making money. Can't pay your mortgage with memories, can you? I'm Adam Pachisi from Cultaholic Wrestling, and these are 10 wrestlers who had their debut match at WrestleMania. Join us. Number 10, Lana. WrestleMania 32 is remembered for many things. The Rock squashing Eric Rowan in 6 seconds, the introduction of the new Women's Championship, the main event being one of the most boring wrestling matches of all time. With all that going on, it's incredibly easy to overlook the 10-woman tag team match that took place on the pre-show. Team Total Divas versus Team Blonde and Bad, yes, that's really what they were called, featured established names like Natalya, Brie Bella, and Paige, as well as a woman who had only been previously seen as a manager. The ravishing Russian Lana was competing in a WWE ring for the first time ever as part of Team Blonde and Bad. I would tell you some of the stuff she did in between the ropes, but to be honest, she didn't really do that much. I can tell you that Lana and the rest of her team lost this match, which I'm sure everyone was devastated by. Number 9, Sunny. Sticking with managers now, and a woman who used to be famous for being quote-unquote the original diva. Now she's famous for, well, let's just say other things and move on quickly. Tammy Lynn Sitch, better known as Sunny, managed teams like the Godwins, the Legion of Doom, and the Body Donners during the 1990s. Despite being heavily featured on WWE programming at the time, she wouldn't participate in an actual match until 2009. 14 years after her first WWE appearance, Sunny took to the ring alongside 24 other women to vie for the crown of Miss WrestleMania. Well, 23 other women and 1 man in drag, but let's not get into that now, yeah? Despite having matches in Smoky Mountain Wrestling, ECW, and WCW, this is Sunny's only official bout for WWE. It's also her most recent match, as she hasn't returned to the ring since. And honestly, we don't blame her. If being in a match that acted as an afterthought to a Kid Rock concert was my only WWE wrestling experience, I'm not sure I would want to do it again either. Number 8, Logan Paul. We didn't want to count celebrities on this list, because then we would just be talking about Lawrence Taylor, Floyd Mayweather, and Akabono for the entire thing, but none of those guys got signed to contracts, did they? YouTube sensation and all-round likable guy, Logan Paul made his first WrestleMania appearance as part of the Kevin Owens vs. Sami Zayn match at WrestleMania 37. 1 year later, Paul returned to the show of shows, only this time he was actually competing. Teaming up with The Miz and a very expensive Pokemon card, Paul put in one of, if not the greatest celebrity performances in the history of wrestling, as he and the A-lister took down Dominic and Rey Mysterio. And since that day, the vlogger has gone from strength to strength inside the ring. His singles match with Miz at SummerSlam was exceptional, as was his world title match with Roman Reigns, and he had the spot of the night at the 2023 Royal Rumble when he and Ricochet attempted to fuse together mid-air. As much as you may hate to admit it, the kid's got something. Number 7, Omos. Nigeria's tallest man and former giant ninja, Omos actually made a bit of history when he made his in-ring debut at WrestleMania 37. Teaming up with his protective charge AJ Styles, Omos went to war with the New Day over the Raw Tag Team Championships. In a classic bit of big man booking, the Colossus obliterated Kofi and Xavier in easy fashion, dominating the multi-time champs and pinning Kingston with 1 foot. Kofi Mania sure feels like a long time ago, doesn't it? In capturing the titles alongside Styles, Omos became the first actual wrestler in history to make his debut at Mania and win a championship in the same match. Sorry, Nicholas, you don't count. Other people had done one or the other, but nobody had ever done both. Team Phenon Omos, which is absolutely what they should have been called, held the gold until SummerSlam when they lost it to RK Bro. Omos then had his first WrestleMania singles match with Bobby Lashley, suffering his first pinfall loss in the process. This guy really likes to do things for the first time at WrestleMania, doesn't he? Number 6, Fandango. WrestleMania 29 was, in the grand scheme of things, largely forgettable. It does, however, hold a special place in the heart of the next 2 performers, both of whom took to the ring for the very first time at the event. Before he was a fashion cop, Fandango was an arrogant ballroom dancer who debuted for WWE in March of 2013. He kept pulling out of his first match because he thought that nobody was saying his name right. This went on for a few weeks until he ran into a certain Chris Jericho. Y2J made fun of Dango's name and attitude, which prompted the dancer to interfere in a number of his matches. This set the stage for a match between the two at the upcoming WrestleMania. In a moment that seems absolutely bonkers in hindsight, Fandango actually defeated Jericho in front of God and everyone. How did WWE capitalize on this momentum? Well, they booked Dango to lose his rematch with Jericho 1 month later, then he just sort of slowly but handsomely fell down the card and ended up getting released in 2021. To be honest, probably should have never beat Jericho in the first place. Number 5, Big E. One match prior to Fandango vs Jericho was a battle for the WWE Tag Team Championships pitting Hell No against Dolph Ziggler and his personal muscle. This was Big E Langston, a former NXT champion who debuted alongside Ziggler and AJ Lee in December of 2012. After acting as the Money in the Bank holders heavy for several months, the time finally came for Mr. Langston to get between the ropes. In his main roster debut, Big E teamed up with Dolph in an attempt to wrest the tag straps away from Daniel Bryan and Kane. In spite of his best efforts, Dolph and E were unsuccessful after Bryan pinned Ziggler with a top rope headbutt. This was the start of a long and prosperous career on the main roster for our boy. He's since appeared at many more editions of Mania, most recently defending the Intercontinental Championship against Apollo Crews at number 37. Hopefully this isn't the last we'll see of the New Day member at the biggest show of the year. Get well soon, Biggie. We all miss you. Number 4, Sting. Did you know that a quarter of all Sting's WWE matches took place at WrestleMania? That may have something to do with him only wrestling 4 matches in the company, but still. After decades of resisting their pull, the Icon made his first WWE appearance at Survivor Series 2014. Coming to the aid of Dolph Ziggler, the WCW legend helped put the villainous Authority out of action for about 5 weeks. All of this built to a huge nostalgia-fueled dream match, Sting vs Triple H at WrestleMania 31. In a highly entertaining contest, the Stinger and the Game proved that they could both still go. They also invited some of their friends along, even if the NWO helping Sting out made absolutely no sense. You know who was their biggest adversary at one point, WWE? Unfortunately, terrible choice of winner and all, this would be as good as it would get for the face-painted vigilante. He would have 2 more matches on Raw and then get injured in his WWE title match with Seth Rollins. By WrestleMania 32, he was in the Hall of Fame and he never wrestled for anyone else ever again. I promise. Number 3, Baron Corbin. This is the 3rd time we've mentioned Mania 32, and so I must ask, is somebody pulling a rib on me? If I must talk about this infernal show, then I may as well talk about the fun but inconsequential Andre the Giant Memorial Battle Royal that took place toward the end of the night. 20 men all fought for the giant golden Fezzik, including Shaquille O'Neal, Diamond Dallas Page, and Tatanka for some reason. Also in the pack was NXT's lone wolf, Baron Corbin, who was making his first main roster appearance on this night. After a gripping Final Four that also included luminaries Bo Dallas and Darren Young, Corbin snuck up behind Kane and dumped the big man out of the ring to pick up a huge victory. And how did WWE follow this up? By having him lose to Dolph Ziggler at the next pay-per-view. As either Baron, King, or Happy, Mr. Corbin has had plenty more Mania highlights, including challenging for the Intercontinental Championship at 33, wrestling Drew McIntyre at 38, and retiring Kurt Angle at 35. Number 2, Ronda Rousey. The Olympic gold medalist was having a much better time at the previous year's Mania when he teamed up with a debuting star to take on Triple H and Stephanie McMahon. That star was none other than UFC sensation Ronda Rousey, who, like Logan Paul, had made a non-wrestling WrestleMania appearance prior to her in-ring debut. Rousey had rocked up at the Royal Rumble, accompanied by the most dramatic point in human history, to set the stage for this Mania encounter. Though reportedly WWE would have much rather her partner be The Rock, at least this was an excuse to give Angle his first WrestleMania match in 12 years. This mixed tag team match was just so much fun. The ultimate sports entertainment schmoz. Everybody played their parts to perfection, and the crowd in New Orleans that night lapped every single bit of it up. In the end, Rousey almost tore Steph's arm off to get the win for her team in one of the most entertaining first matches in WWE history. 1 year later, and she was only bloody main eventing the whole pay-per-view. Good work in progress, Ronnie. Number 1, Bianca Belair. Hold on there, I hear you cry. Bianca Belair made her main roster debut the night after WrestleMania 36. I hope someone gets fired for that blunder. Well, that's very much the story WWE would like you to believe. In reality, the future Raw and SmackDown Women's Champion actually appeared on the main roster 2 years earlier. As part of the WrestleMania 34 kickoff show, WWE put on the first ever WrestleMania Women's Battle Royal. It was initially called the Fabulous Moolah Memorial Battle Royal until everyone realized what a horrible person she was. Among the competitors in this match was a contingent of women from NXT. They were Kavita Devi, Tainara Conti, now Ty Mello in AEW, Dakota Kai, and the EST herself. Yes, Bianca Belair's main roster debut actually happened as part of a multi-woman over-the-top rope contest originally named after an alleged pimp. Talk about prestigious. From very humble beginnings, Belair rose up through the ranks to have 2 of the best Mania singles matches of recent years, her clash with Becky Lynch at 38 and her historic main event clash with Sasha Banks at 37. I'm sure Moolah is looking up and smiling.